The stars had never seemed so threatening before. Captain Sarah Mitchell stood at the observation window of the International Space Station, watching as massive alien ships materialized in Earth's orbit. There were 12 of them, each one larger than any human vessel ever built. They hung in space like silent judges, their hulls gleaming with colors that human eyes had never seen before. Down on Earth, every screen flickered and changed at the same moment. Television broadcasts stopped. Internet streams paused. Even the simplest phone screens displayed the same image, a being that looked like it was made of living crystal, its facets catching light that seemed to come from inside its body. People of Earth, the being spoke, and its voice translated perfectly into every language simultaneously. I am Zarthok, Supreme Arbiter of the Galactic Council. We have been watching your world for 3 of your years. Today we bring you important news. In living rooms across the planet, families gathered around screens. In offices, workers stopped typing. In the streets, people pulled out their phones and stared in disbelief. The Galactic Council represents 47 species across this galaxy. Zarthok continued. We have maintained peace and prosperity for 10,000 years. We guide younger species toward enlightenment and protect them from the dangers of premature development. Sarah felt her stomach tighten. She had read enough science fiction to know where this was going. After careful observation and discussion, the Council has reached a decision. Humanity is hereby declared a subject species under Council protection. You will benefit from our wisdom and guidance as you grow toward eventual maturity. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Zarthok gestured with what might have been a hand. Effective immediately, Earth falls under Council jurisdiction. You will cease all military space operations. You will accept technological restrictions to prevent dangerous experimentation. You will welcome Council administrators who will help govern your world during this transition period. In the United Nations building in New York, diplomats scrambled to respond. Secretary General James Okonkwo grabbed a microphone, his hands shaking with anger and fear. We are a sovereign species, he announced, his voice broadcast to every human network. We do not accept this declaration. Earth demands to be treated as equals, not subjects. Zarthok's crystalline face might have shown amusement. It was hard to tell. Your objection is noted but irrelevant. The Council's decision is final. This is for your own protection. Humanity is too young, too aggressive, too dangerous to itself and others. We have seen species like yours before. Without guidance, you will destroy yourselves within 200 years. We are saving you from that fate. The transmission ended. The alien ships remained. Within hours, another vessel arrived. This one was smaller, shaped like an enormous snail shell covered in pulsing bioluminescent patterns. It descended toward Geneva, Switzerland, where the United Earth government had established its primary headquarters after the unification treaties of 2201. The ship landed in a field outside the city. A boarding ramp extended, and something emerged that made even hardened soldiers take a step back. It was roughly the size of a bus, slug-like in shape, leaving a trail of slime as it moved. Dozens of eye stalks protruded from its body, each one moving independently. When it spoke, the sound came from a translator device mounted on what might have been its head. I am Administrator Quilm, the creature announced. I have been assigned to oversee Earth's transition to proper Council governance. You will provide me with office space, staff, and access to all governmental databases. Cooperation will make this process smoother for everyone. President Elena Rodriguez of the United Earth government stood before the alien, flanked by security officers whose weapons suddenly seemed very primitive and small. We will not cooperate with an occupation, she said firmly. Quilm's eye stalks swiveled to examine her. Occupation is such an ugly word. We prefer administration, and you will cooperate or the Council will implement stricter measures. Your species has no choice in this matter. We control faster-than-light travel. We possess weapons that could sterilize your planet from orbit. We have technologies your scientists cannot even imagine. The threat was clear, though delivered in a tone of patient condescension. However, Quilm continued, the Council is not cruel. We are here to help. You will retain local governance over minor matters. You may continue your cultures and traditions. We simply ask that you accept our guidance on important issues such as space exploration, military development, and interaction with other species. Around the world, humanity reacted with shock, anger, and fear. Protests erupted in every major city. Some people welcomed the aliens, hoping for technological gifts and cosmic wisdom. Others saw it as the ultimate insult, the end of human independence. In a secret military bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Marcus Chen convened an emergency meeting of Earth's top military commanders. The room was lined with screens showing alien ship positions, analysis reports, and threat assessments. "We could fight," suggested Admiral Kenji Yamamoto, commander of Earth's modest space fleet. "We have 73 combat-capable ships. We could make them bleed, and then they would crush us," General Chen replied quietly. "Our intelligence suggests they have thousands of ships, maybe tens of thousands. We saw what their vessels can do. They crossed light years in days. Our fastest ships take months to reach Mars. So we just surrender?" another officer demanded. "We just accept slavery?" "I didn't say that," Chen replied, a slight smile crossing his face. "I said we can't win a military fight, but there are other kinds of warfare. In the halls of power, in university laboratories, in corporate boardrooms, and in the homes of ordinary citizens, humanity began to think. The aliens had declared them subjects. They had assumed humanity would simply accept this new reality. They were about to learn their first lesson about humans. People from Earth did not accept subjugation quietly. Within days, Earth's government issued a formal statement. They would comply with the Council's proclamation. They would accept Administrator Quilm's presence. They would follow Council regulations regarding technology and space exploration. The statement was polite, cooperative, and completely sincere. Quilm reported back to the Council that humanity had accepted their new status with surprising grace. Perhaps these humans were more reasonable than initial observations suggested. Perhaps this would be an easy assignment after all. The Council celebrated their successful integration of another species. Zarthok congratulated himself on handling the situation with appropriate firmness and compassion. Another primitive species had been saved from itself. But in the streets of Earth cities, in the offices of its governments, and in the minds of its 7 billion people, something else was happening. Humanity was doing what it had always done when faced with overwhelming force and impossible odds. They were planning. They were scheming. They were finding every loophole, every weakness, every possible advantage. The aliens had made humanity their subjects. They had done so with overwhelming force and absolute confidence. They believed the matter was settled. They had no idea what was coming. The war had begun, but it would not be fought with guns and ships. It would be fought with lawyers and traders, with culture and economics, with every clever trick that humanity had developed over thousands of years of fighting each other. The Galactic Council had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They were about to discover that sometimes the most dangerous opponent is not the one with the biggest weapons. Sometimes it is the one who refuses to fight the way you expect. 3 weeks after the proclamation, Administrator Quilm sat in his newly constructed office in Geneva, feeling satisfied. The humans had been remarkably compliant. They provided him with everything he requested. They answered his questions. They submitted reports on schedule. This assignment was turning out to be much easier than anticipated. His satisfaction lasted until the first reports started arriving from Council space. Humans were everywhere. In the Centauri system, home to the insectoid Clixon species, human traders had set up shop on every orbital station. They sold goods at prices so low that local merchants could not compete. Within 2 weeks, the Clixan economy was in chaos as traditional trade networks collapsed. On Vrelos Prime, the homeworld of Quilm's own species, human entertainment had become an obsession. Shows like Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad were being consumed by millions of Relnor who had never experienced such emotionally intense storytelling. Productivity dropped by 30% as workers called in sick to continue watching. The Council's communication networks were flooded with human content. Music, movies, books, and games spread like a virus. Species that had existed for thousands of years suddenly found themselves humming human songs and debating the endings of human television shows. But the real problems were just beginning. Human lawyer named Rebecca Singh appeared before the Council's patent office with a briefcase full of documents. She was a small woman with dark skin and gray hair, wearing a business suit that looked formal by human standards but seemed ridiculously primitive to the aliens who processed her request. "I would like to register patents for several human..." Inventions, she announced calmly. The clerk, a floating jellyfish-like creature named Plorvis, processed her application with barely any attention. Humans were subjects now. Their primitive patents were meaningless. Then Plorvis actually read the applications. The wheel, the lever, the screw, the pulley, representative government, the jury system, the concept of individual property rights. Humans were attempting to patent ideas that had existed across the galaxy for millennia. These are not new inventions, Plorvis protested. Rebecca smiled. Under Council law, patents are granted based on the date of first registration in the Council database. I have checked thoroughly. None of these concepts have been formally registered. They are simply assumed. My clients would like to correct this oversight. This is absurd, Plorvis sputtered. This is legal, Rebecca corrected. Unless you can show me the specific Council regulation that prevents it? Plorvis could not. The Council had never needed such regulations. For 10,000 years, everyone had simply understood common concepts without needing legal documentation. Within a month, human lawyers had registered patents on 127,000 basic concepts. They began sending licensing invoices to every species in Council space. The amounts were small, almost insignificant. But multiply those small amounts by trillions of individuals across 47 species, and the numbers became staggering. The Council's legal department, which had processed perhaps a dozen cases per year for centuries, was suddenly drowning in paperwork. Then the real trouble started. A human woman named Jennifer Park arrived on Thessalon III, home to the aquatic Thessali species. She set up a small office in the capital city's landing zone and began distributing pamphlets. The Thessali, who communicated through color changes in their skin, found the pamphlets fascinating. The pamphlets discussed concepts like workers' rights, fair wages, and the right to organize. The Thessali had never considered such ideas before. They worked because the Council assigned them work. They received compensation because the Council determined appropriate compensation. The system had functioned this way for thousands of years. Within 6 weeks, Thessalon III experienced its first labor strike in recorded history. 50,000 Thessali refused to work until their compensation was increased and their working conditions improved. The planetary economy ground to a halt. Similar humans appeared on other worlds. They called themselves missionaries, though they preached no religion. Instead, they spread ideas, democracy, personal freedom, individual rights, the notion that governments should serve the people, not the other way around. The Council called an emergency session. Zarthok's crystalline form glowed with agitation as reports poured in from across Council space. The humans are destabilizing everything, complained Ambassador Threlvan of the reptilian chrysalis species. They spread chaos wherever they go. My people are starting to question orders. They ask why when given tasks. This never happened before. My world has experienced 7 protests in the last month, added Representative Quilla of the Harmonics. 7. We had 0 protests in the previous 500 years. All of them were organized by humans or inspired by human ideas. They are manipulating our legal systems, Zarthok said grimly. Their lawyers have filed 2.3 million legal challenges to various Council regulations. Our courts are paralyzed. Every decision we make is immediately appealed, questioned, and delayed. Can we not simply expel them? Asked Ambassador Vreen. On what grounds? Zarthok replied. They are subjects of the Council now. They have every right to travel Council space, engage in trade, and access our legal systems. They have broken no laws. They simply exploit every loophole with remarkable efficiency. Then close the loopholes, Vreen insisted. We are trying, Zarthok said wearily. But for every regulation we pass, they find 10 new loopholes. It is as if they have been training for this their entire existence. They had. Humanity had spent thousands of years developing increasingly complex legal systems to govern their contentious societies. They had lawyers who specialized in finding loopholes. They had entire industries built around manipulating regulations. They had turned bureaucracy into an art form. The Council, by contrast, had relied on tradition and mutual understanding. Their laws were simple and direct because no one had ever tried to subvert them. They were completely unprepared for an opponent who viewed every rule as a challenge and every regulation as an opportunity. Back on Earth, Administrator Quilm called an emergency meeting with President Rodriguez. You must stop this, he demanded, his eye stalks waving in agitation. Your people are causing chaos across the galaxy. They must cease these activities immediately. Rodriguez looked at him with innocent confusion. Stop what exactly? My people are engaging in legal trade. They are exercising their rights under council law to file patents and legal challenges. They are sharing their culture, which is not prohibited by any regulation. What law are they breaking? They are breaking the spirit of the law, Quilm insisted. The spirit of the law is not legally enforceable, Rodriguez replied calmly. If the council wishes to restrict human activities, they should pass clear regulations stating what is prohibited. Until then, my people will continue to exercise their legal rights as subjects of the council. Quilm's translator device made a sound that might have been a frustrated groan. You are doing this deliberately. You are weaponizing our own legal system against us. Rodriguez leaned forward. Administrator Quilm, you declared us subjects without our consent. You imposed your will on us through threat of force. Did you expect us to simply accept subjugation? Did you think we would be grateful? We are protecting you, Quilm protested. Guiding you. We don't want your protection, Rodriguez said quietly. We want our freedom. And until we get it, things will only get worse, Ngui. Is that a threat? It is a promise, Rodriguez replied. Release us from subject status or discover just how creative humans can be when they are angry. That night, Quilm sent a priority message to the council. The message was simple and urgent. The human situation is not under control. Request immediate guidance. The council read his message with growing concern. But pride prevented them from acting. They had declared humanity subjects. To reverse that decision would be an admission of error. The council did not admit errors. They decided to maintain their position and weather the storm. Surely these humans would eventually settle down and accept their place in the galactic order. It was the second major mistake the council made regarding humanity. The first was declaring them subjects. The second was underestimating just how stubborn, creative, and persistently annoying humans could be when they set their minds to it. The storm was just beginning. 6 months after humanity became subjects of the Galactic Council, the economic situation had become critical. What started as minor disruptions had grown into a full crisis that threatened the foundation of galactic commerce. It began with a small company called Terra Logistics. They offered shipping services between Council worlds at rates 40% lower than established carriers. The Council's trade guilds dismissed them as desperate newcomers who would bankrupt themselves within months. Instead, Terra Logistics thrived. They used human innovations that seemed simple but were devastatingly effective. Advanced artificial intelligence managed their routes, optimizing every journey. Automated loading systems reduced turnaround time at stations. Aggressive scheduling and just-in-time delivery models that human corporations had perfected over centuries made their operations incredibly efficient. Within 3 months, Terra Logistics controlled 15% of all shipping in Council space. Within 6 months, 30%. Traditional carriers could not compete. Many went bankrupt. Others sold their fleets to human companies at desperate prices, but shipping was only the beginning. Human manufacturing exploded across the galaxy. Factories appeared on dozens of worlds, all operating under the special status granted to subject species. The Council had designed these exemptions to help primitive species establish themselves economically. They never imagined a subject species would use them to dominate entire markets. A human company called Zhang Industrial set up operations on 7 different worlds. They produced consumer goods using 3D printing technology that allowed rapid customization and production. Where Council manufacturers took weeks to produce specialized items, Zhang Industrial delivered in days. Where Council goods were expensive due to traditional craftsmanship methods, Zhang products were affordable and mass-produced. The cliques and crafters, who had produced luxury furniture for 3,000 years, watched their market collapse as humans flooded stores with cheaper alternatives. The furniture was not as beautiful, perhaps, but it was functional and cost 1/10 as much. Most buyers chose savings over tradition. Similar stories played out across every industry. Human companies were not necessarily better at any one thing, but they were faster, more efficient, and far more aggressive. They operated with a level of competitive intensity that peaceful Council species found exhausting and disturbing. Then humans introduced concepts that the Council had never encountered before marketing. a human woman named Sarah. Chen launched the first advertising campaign in council space. She represented a company selling human-style clothing. Her advertisements appeared everywhere, using psychological techniques refined over centuries of human commercial warfare. They appealed to emotions, created artificial needs, and made people feel incomplete without the products. The advertisements were incredibly effective. Species that had worn the same traditional garments for thousands of years suddenly wanted human-style clothes. Fashion became a concept on worlds where it had never existed before. The economic implications were staggering, but the real earthquake came when humans introduced financial innovations. Marcus Wu stood before a crowd of wealthy Vrelnor investors, presenting a concept he called the stock market. He explained how investors could buy shares in companies, trading them freely and building wealth through careful speculation. The Vrelnor were fascinated. The council's economy had always been stable and predictable. Growth was slow but steady. Risk was minimal. Wu was offering them something exciting, something with the potential for massive returns. What he did not mention, or perhaps did not adequately explain, was the concept of risk itself. Within weeks, stock exchanges opened on 17 council worlds. Trading became frenzied. Fortunes were made overnight. Species that had never gambled suddenly discovered the thrill of speculation. The Thessali, with their quick color-changing communication, proved particularly adept at rapid trading. Then came the crash. It started with a human company called Hyperion Enterprises. They had been valued at 15 billion council credits, with investors pouring money into their stock. Then auditors revealed that Hyperion's assets were mostly fictional. The company was essentially a fraud. The stock plummeted. Investors panicked. They began selling everything, trying to recover their losses. The panic spread. Within 72 hours, 17 trillion council credits in value simply vanished. Pension funds that had invested in human financial instruments lost everything. Retirement savings for millions of people across a dozen species disappeared. The economic damage was catastrophic. The council passed emergency regulations trying to contain the damage. They banned stock trading. They froze human assets. They attempted to roll back the financial innovations that had caused such chaos. But human lawyers immediately challenged every regulation. They tied up enforcement in legal proceedings that would take years to resolve. Meanwhile, human companies continued, operating through subsidiaries and shell corporations that technically complied with every rule while violating their. Spirit Zarthok called for an emergency meeting with Earth's representatives. The meeting took place aboard a council vessel in neutral space. Zarthok's crystalline form glowed with barely controlled anger as he faced the human delegation. The humans sent Ambassador Patricia Chen. She was 73 years old, with white hair and a gentle grandmother's face. She wore a simple dress and comfortable shoes. She looked completely harmless. Zarthok knew better by now. "Your species is destroying the galactic economy," he said without preamble. 17 currencies have collapsed. Thousands of businesses have failed. Millions of people have lost their savings. This must stop. Patricia settled into her chair with the patience of someone who had dealt with difficult children many times before. "We have broken no laws," she said calmly. "You have exploited every loophole, manipulated every market, and destabilized civilizations that have existed peacefully for thousands of years." Zarthok countered. "Yes," Patricia agreed. "We have, and it was remarkably easy to do. Your economy was incredibly fragile. Your laws were full of holes. Your financial systems had no protections against even basic fraud. Did you know that before we arrived, your stock exchanges had no circuit breakers, no trading limits, no oversight committees? It is honestly surprising that your economy functioned at all. It functioned perfectly for 10,000 years. Zarthok said coldly. It functioned adequately when everyone played by the same unspoken rules, Patricia corrected, but it could not handle competition. Real competition? The kind where participants actually try to win instead of politely taking turns. She leaned forward. You declared us subjects because you thought we were primitive, weak, in need of guidance. You did not ask our opinion. You did not offer partnership. You simply imposed your will because you could. We were protecting you, Zarthok insisted. You were protecting your own comfortable position, Patricia replied. The Council has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years without challenge. You became complacent, soft. You forgot that civilization requires constant work, constant vigilance, constant adaptation. You thought you had reached the end of history. You thought nothing would ever change. She stood up, moving to the viewport to look at the stars beyond. We are showing you that you were wrong. Your systems are vulnerable. Your economy is fragile. Your laws are inadequate. These are not problems we created. We simply exposed them. If not us, eventually some other species would have done the same. Perhaps one less interested in following your rules at all. Zarthok was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter, less certain. What do you want? Release us from subject status, Patricia said simply. Acknowledge that humanity is a sovereign species with the right to self-determination. Treat us as equals. And if we do this, you will stop disrupting council space? Patricia smiled. We will stop trying to disrupt council space. Though I make no promises about what will happen naturally when human and council economies interact on equal terms. Competition is part of our nature. We cannot simply turn it off when is that a threat? It is honesty, Patricia replied. You wanted to guide us, to protect us, to control us. But you never asked what we wanted. You never considered that we might prefer freedom to safety, challenge to comfort, chaos to stagnation. She turned back to face him directly. Release us, Arbiter, or things will get worse. Much worse. What you have seen so far is humanity being polite. You really do not want to see what happens when we stop being polite. Zarthok felt something he had not experienced in centuries, fear. I will take your message to the council, he said. Finally, please do, Patricia replied, and tell them to decide quickly. Every day they wait, human companies gain more influence. Human ideas spread further. Human culture becomes more deeply embedded in council space. Soon it may be impossible to remove us even if you try. The meeting ended. Patricia returned to Earth with a small, satisfied smile. Zarthok returned to the council with a growing sense of dread. The humans had made their point devastatingly clear. They could not be governed. They could not be controlled. And most terrifying of all, they were just getting started. The council's decision came 3 weeks later. They would not release humanity from subject status. Instead, they would demonstrate why such defiance was futile. They would show Earth what happened when primitive species challenged the established galactic order. The Grand Armada was assembled. It was the largest fleet ever gathered in council space. 500 warships from across the galaxy converged on the Sol system. Each vessel was massive, ornate, and powerful. They represented the combined might of 47 civilizations. They were meant to inspire awe and terror. Admiral Thorin Cal commanded the armada from his flagship, the Radiant Justice. He was a member of the Astrian species, tall and graceful with skin that shimmered like starlight. He had commanded fleets for 200 years and never faced defeat. This assignment seemed simple. Travel to Earth, make an impressive show of force. The humans would see the futility of resistance and accept their place. The armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. Their sensors immediately began scanning for Earth's military assets. Intelligence suggested the humans possessed perhaps 70 to 100 combat vessels. Primitive things with chemical rockets and basic energy weapons. They would be no threat to Council warships with their advanced shields and quantum displacement drives. The sensor readings came back. Admiral Thorin studied them with growing confusion. Repeat the scan, he ordered. There must be an error. The scan was repeated. The results were the same. The sensors showed 3,247 human warships scattered throughout the Sol system. They were emerging from behind moons, asteroids, and orbital stations. Some had been powered down, hiding in the cold darkness of space. Others launched from hidden bases on planetary surfaces. This is impossible, Thorin said. Where did they get so many ships? His intelligence officer, a Clixon named Scrix, studied the data with rapidly moving antennae. Admiral, it appears the humans have been building a military fleet for decades, perhaps centuries. They concealed it from our observation teams. But the Council specifically ordered them to cease military space operations. Thorin protested. They ordered that after the proclamation, Scrix pointed out. The humans complied with that order. They ceased all new military construction. However, they never reported their existing military assets. We never asked them to. Admiral Thorin felt a cold sensation in his core. The humans had not technically violated any orders. They had simply failed to volunteer information. It was a distinction that would have seemed meaningless to the Council's honest species. To humans, apparently, it was a loophole large enough to hide thousands of warships. The human fleet did not attack. They simply positioned themselves in a defensive formation around Earth and its colonies, waiting. Admiral Thorin sent a communication to Earth's military command. "This is Admiral Thorin Cal of the Galactic Council. Your display is impressive but meaningless. The Council's ships are superior in every way. Stand down immediately." The response came from a human who identified himself as Admiral Marcus Jackson. He was an older man with dark skin, gray hair, and eyes that had seen too much combat. "This is Admiral Jackson. You are in human space without permission. Turn around and leave, or we will interpret your presence as an act of war." Thorin almost laughed. "You dare threaten the Council? You are subjects. We have every right to be here." "We do not accept subject status," Jackson replied calmly. "We never did. You imposed it through threat of force. Now you come with more threats. We are not impressed." "Your ships are primitive," Thorin said. "We have shields that can deflect any weapon you possess. We have drives that can maneuver faster than your targeting systems can track. You cannot win this fight." "Maybe," Jackson agreed, "but we can make it incredibly expensive." "Tell me, Admiral, how long has it been since Council species fought a real war?" Thorin hesitated. "The Council has maintained peace for 10,000 years. "Exactly," Jackson said. 10,000 years of peace. Do you know how long it has been since humans fought a major war? 47 years. And before that? Wars were constant throughout our entire history. We have been fighting each other since we discovered fire. We know war. We understand it. We are very, very good at it." Jackson's face filled the communication screen. "Your ships are beautiful. They are masterpieces of engineering. They are built for prestige, for long patrols, for showing the flag at diplomatic functions. Our ships are ugly. They are designed for one purpose only: to kill other ships. Every system is redundant. Every weapon is optimized for maximum damage. Every tactic we know is designed to exploit enemy weaknesses." He leaned closer to the camera. "You have 500 ships. We have over 3,000. Your ships are larger, yes. More advanced, probably. But war is not about who has the best technology. It is about who is willing to pay the highest price. Who is willing to sacrifice more. Who wants victory badly enough to endure terrible losses." Thorin felt his confidence wavering. "You would sacrifice your entire fleet?" "We would sacrifice everything," Jackson said quietly. "Because this is our home, our freedom, our future." "What are you willing to sacrifice, Admiral?" "Your beautiful flagship? The crews who have never seen real combat? Thousands of lives for a political statement?" Silence filled the communication channel. Jackson continued. "And even if you win, what then? You destroy our fleet. You bombard Earth. You kill millions, maybe billions. But you cannot kill all of us. Humans live on dozens of worlds now. We have colonies, settlements, and populations scattered across this entire region of space. We have built weapons you do not know about. Technologies we developed in secret." "Do you know what antimatter is, Admiral?" Thorin did. Antimatter was the ultimate weapon, but it was also incredibly unstable and dangerous. The Council had banned antimatter weapons thousands of years ago as too terrible to use. "We have antimatter warheads," Jackson said. "Hundreds of them, hidden throughout Council space. If you attack Earth, our agents will detonate them on Council worlds. They will kill billions. They will make your beautiful, peaceful civilization bleed in ways it has not bled in 10,000 years." "That would be genocide," Thorin whispered. "That would be war," Jackson corrected. "Total war. The kind that humanity has fought many times before. The kind that your species has forgotten was even possible. You think showing up with 500 ships will make us surrender? We think that if you force us to fight, we will make sure you regret it for the next 10,000 years." Another voice broke into the conversation. It was Ambassador Patricia Chen. "Admiral Thorin, this does not have to happen. The Council can simply acknowledge that we are not subjects, that we are sovereign, that we have the right to govern ourselves. It costs you nothing but pride." "The Council does not reverse its decisions," Thorin said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Then the Council is foolish," Patricia replied. "Pride is not worth this. War is not worth this. Is defending your ego worth risking thousands of lives? Is it worth watching your beautiful ships burn in the darkness of space?" Admiral Thorin looked at his command crew. They were all staring at the tactical displays, seeing the human fleet positioned around Earth. The humans were outnumbered, yes, but they were defending their home. They were prepared to fight with everything they had. The tactical simulations showed that even if the Council won, they would lose at least half the armada, maybe more. For the first time in his 200-year career, Admiral Thorin doubted. He sent an encrypted communication to the Council. The situation is more complex than anticipated. The humans possess significant military capabilities. They have made credible threats. Recommend immediate negotiation to avoid unnecessary conflict. The Council's response took 3 hours. When it came, it was brief and sharp. Maintain position. Do not engage. The Council will discuss the matter. The two fleets faced each other across the darkness of space. Human ships surrounded Earth like angry bees protecting their hive. Council ships hung at the system's edge, uncertain for the first time in millennia. Inside the human command center, Admiral Jackson allowed himself a small smile. Send a message to all ships. Stand down from combat alert but maintain defensive positions. I think the Council finally understands. Understands what, sir? Asked his second-in-command. That we are not prey, Jackson replied. That we will not be governed. That freedom is worth fighting for, worth dying for. They thought they could just declare us subjects and we would accept it. They forgot to ask if we agreed. He looked at the screen showing the Council fleet. They are not cowards. They are not evil. They are just comfortable. They have forgotten that civilization is not a gift. It is a fight. A constant struggle to maintain freedom and dignity against those who would take it away. We just reminded them of that fact. Patricia Chen entered the command center. The Council is holding an emergency session. They are voting on whether to change our status. Will they release us? Someone asked. Patricia smiled. I think they might. Because the alternative is war. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the Council is afraid. Not of losing, but of winning at too high a price. Sometimes that is the only wisdom that matters. The Council chamber had never been so full of tension. Representatives from all 47 member species gathered in the vast amphitheater that floated in neutral space between star systems. The chamber was designed to inspire calm and unity, with walls that displayed the peaceful stars of the galaxy. Today those stars seemed cold and distant. Sarthok stood at the center, his crystalline form dimmer than usual. The events of the past months had worn on him. The economic chaos, the cultural disruption, the military standoff, all of it weighed heavily on his consciousness. We face a decision, he announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. The humans demand release from subject status. They threaten war if we refuse. They have demonstrated both the capability and the will to make such a war devastating for all parties. Ambassador Threlvan of the Chrysalis species rose to speak. His scales rippled with agitation. We cannot simply surrender to threats. The Council has maintained order for 10,000 years. If we yield to human demands, every other subject species will demand the same. Our entire system of governance will collapse. Our system is already collapsing, countered Representative Maureen of the Harmonics. Her voice carried the musical tones of her species. But today the melody was discordant. 15 subject species have declared independence in the past month alone. They cite human ideology. They demand freedom. We can barely enforce our will on one aggressive species. How can we control 20 rebellious ones? This is all the humans' fault, Threlvan snapped. They spread chaos and disorder. They weaponize our own laws against us. They poison the minds of loyal subjects with dangerous ideas. Or, Sarthok said quietly, they exposed problems that already existed. Ambassador Threlvan, when was the last time you visited your subject worlds? When did you last ask them if they were happy with Council rule? Threlvan hesitated. They never complained. Perhaps because they had no framework for complaint, Sarthok replied. The humans introduced concepts like personal freedom and individual rights. These ideas spread because they resonate with something fundamental. Perhaps our subjects were never truly content. They simply had no language to express discontent. The chamber erupted in argument. Some agreed with Sarthok. Others defended the Council's traditional approach. The debate raged for hours. Then the reports started arriving. Reports that changed everything. A representative burst into the chamber, multiple limbs gesturing frantically. Council members, we have a situation. That the Sali have declared full independence. They refuse to recognize Council authority. They are establishing their own government based on human democratic principles. Before anyone could respond, another messenger arrived. The Vrelnor colonies in the Outer Rim have seceded. They claim the right to self-governance, then another. The Clixan Homeworld's parliament has voted to leave the council. The vote was unanimous. Within an hour, 17 more species had declared independence. The exodus was accelerating. The council was not collapsing slowly. It was falling apart. Zarthok called for silence. When he spoke again, his voice carried a weight of sadness and resignation. We face reality now. The humans showed subject species that they had a choice, that they could say no, that authority without consent is just force. And force, as we are learning, has limits. So we just surrender? Threlvon demanded. We adapt, Zarthok replied. We evolve. We build something new, something better, or we watch our civilization crumble while clinging to pride. He turned to face the full assembly. I call for a vote. Should humanity be released from subject status and invited to join the council as full and equal members? The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. 31 species voted yes, 13 voted no, 3 abstained. The decision was made. Zarthok personally delivered the message to Earth. He traveled to Geneva and met with President Rodriguez and Ambassador Chen. Administrator Quilm was there too, looking deflated and tired. His months trying to govern humanity had aged him in ways his species normally did not experience. The council has voted, Zarthok announced. Humanity is released from subject status. You are recognized as a sovereign species. Furthermore, you are invited to join the council as full members with all rights and privileges. Patricia Chen smiled. President Rodriguez looked satisfied, but neither seemed surprised. We appreciate the council's decision, Rodriguez said diplomatically. However, humanity must respectfully decline membership at this time. Zarthok's crystalline structure flashed with shock. You decline? You fought for this. You demanded recognition. Now you refuse it? We demanded freedom, Patricia clarified. Not membership. There is a difference. She stood and walked to a window overlooking the city. The council invited us to join as equals. But we are not equals, not yet. The council represents civilizations that are thousands of years old. Stable, peaceful, mature. Humanity is young, aggressive, chaotic. If we joined now, we would disrupt everything. We already have. Then why fight so hard? Zarthok asked. To prove we could, Patricia replied simply. To prove that you could not force us. That we had the right to choose our own path. But choosing to join you right now would be premature. Humanity needs time to grow, to mature, to learn how to be part of something larger without dominating it or destroying it. Rodriguez stepped forward. However, we have conditions for the council. Things that must change before humanity will consider membership. Conditions? Zarthok's voice hardened. You make demands of us? We make suggestions, Rodriguez corrected. The council is dying. Not because of us, but because it never evolved. It maintained peace through force and tradition. But force cannot last forever, and tradition becomes stagnation. You need to change. Whether humanity joins you or not, you need to change. She handed Zarthok a data tablet. These are our recommendations. Democratic reforms, individual rights protections, economic regulations that prevent the abuses we demonstrated, legal frameworks that close the loopholes we exploited, education systems that teach critical thinking rather than obedience. The council must become a voluntary association of free species, not an empire that rules subjects. Zarthok reviewed the document. It was comprehensive, detailed, and radical. It would transform everything the council had been for 10,000 years. This would take decades to implement, he said. We know, Patricia replied. And during that time, humanity will watch. We will trade with you. We will share culture. We will compete economically. But we will remain independent. If you successfully reform, if you build something truly worth joining, then maybe in 20 or 30 years humanity will apply for membership. As equals, as partners, not as subjects. And if we do not reform? Zarthok asked. Then you will continue to collapse, Patricia said bluntly. And humanity will build our own alliances with the species who leave you. Either way, the galaxy is changing. You can change with it or you can become history. Silence filled the room. Finally, Zarthok spoke. You are arrogant. Yes, Patricia agreed. You are disruptive. Yes, you are insufferable. Patricia smiled. Also yes. Zarthok's crystalline form flickered through several colors. Then, to everyone's surprise, he made a sound that might have been laughter. You are also correct. The council has been arrogant too. We thought we had achieved perfection. We thought history had ended. We were wrong. He carefully held the data tablet. I will present your suggestions to the council. I cannot promise they will accept all of them, but I promise they will be considered. Seriously considered. That is all we ask, Rodriguez said. 5 years passed. 5 years of chaos and transformation. The council reformed itself into the Galactic Federation. Subject species were offered independence. Most took it. Those who remained did so voluntarily as equal partners. Democratic institutions were established. Individual rights were protected. The changes were painful but necessary. Human companies continued to compete in galactic markets. Human culture continued to spread. Human ideas continued to inspire and disrupt. But humans also learned. They discovered that other species had wisdom humanity lacked, that cooperation could be more effective than competition, that sometimes listening was more powerful than speaking. When the Galactic Federation finally completed its reforms, Ambassador Patricia Chen, now 83 years old, submitted humanity's application for membership. The vote was unanimous in favor. At the acceptance ceremony, Zarthok addressed the assembled representatives. Humanity joins us not as subjects, not as guests, but as equals. They challenged us. They frustrated us. They drove us to the edge of collapse. And in doing so, they saved us from ourselves. They reminded us that civilization is not a monument. It is a conversation, a constant negotiation between order and freedom, tradition and progress, stability and change. He turned to Patricia. Ambassador Chen, you once told me that strength is not about who can dominate others. It is about who refuses to be dominated. I did not understand then. I do now. Welcome to the Federation. Patricia smiled. Thank you, Arbiter. And thank you for learning what we tried to teach. That freedom is not chaos. That questioning is not rebellion. That the strongest civilizations are those built on choice, not force. She looked around the chamber at representatives from 200 independent species. Humanity is proud to stand among you.